Mr. Wick, it is time for us to do a review of John Wick Chapter 4. Hello everybody, welcome to yet another mini review, this time of the fourth installment of the classic movie series, or soon to be classic of course, John Wick Chapter 4. We're going to talk about all the things. Also, Jerome right here from The First Ones to Die. You know the deal already at this point, right? So we're going to talk about all the things John Wick, starting with, of course, we're going to talk about the cast, the plot, things that worked, things that didn't work. General thoughts, though, it was cool, man. I like this one a lot more than the third one, for sure. Not the third one was awful, just I prefer this one. I feel like it's a lot more grounded. It's got a lot more to it than just the regular stuff that, or rather the extravagant stuff that we got in John Wick 3, and it builds on the canon a lot better in this than 3 did. It reminds me a lot of John Wick 2, in fact, which was one of my favorites. I think John Wick 2 is my favorite, but this one is definitely trying to fight its way to get up there, you know what I mean? so let's get into it. So John Wick 4, what is this one about? Well, let's get into it. I got IMDb pulled up here. John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table, but before he can even earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes. So yeah, man, this one is definitely trying to be like, all right, it's the epic finale, it's the big, showdown that you've been waiting for. And I have to say, they kind of live up to that. This is a very epic movie. There's a lot of excitement that happens. I mean, of course, the choreography and everything looks phenomenal because it's John Wick. It's not going to not look phenomenal. But on top of that, it's just strong in its presence and its characters. I mean, all the things that made John Wick are still there. The cinematography is still beautiful. I mean, the colors, the lights, everything phenomenal. The action sequences are filmed to perfection. All right, the camera angles they're using make you feel like you are right there, visceral. There's no shaky cam, you know what I mean? It's all very still on tripods. Like, we are just watching some technically strong, really good choreography, action choreography. Keanu Reeves, phenomenal job doing the action choreography. No one like him in the business. I mean, he's just good. The closest I can think is Tom Cruise, and even then, most of the time, Tom Cruise don't do a lot of fighting choreography as much as he does a lot of just like, stunt work. Here, Keanu Reeves is like doing it. Like, he is throwing them blows, he is working them nunchucks, like he is doing it, man, and he is phenomenal at doing it. I can't say that I haven't seen anyone do this level of dedication, because now Keanu Reeves is out here putting the gold standard up. So it's fantastic. Going into the performances of this movie, I gotta say, honestly, everybody is given 110%, except the main character. I'm sorry. Like, I gotta be honest. Keanu Reeves, you've probably heard me say this because I did a small mini review, or mini review of John Wick 4 in one of our podcast episodes. I don't know which one right now, but although I did, it was supposed to be me and my dad, but he was also tired, so he did not come. So it was me and Ari. We saw John Wick 4 last night.
How was it?
It was good. It was, I have to be 100% honest with you guys. I am not into the like really stoic reading of John Wick. You want to talk about the most comedy? Every single time John Wick opened his mouth when I watched this in theaters, it got the most laughs. out of everybody in the audience more than anything else that happened in this film. And for me, that's a negative against your movie if your main character can't even talk without everyone laughing. And I know that he's supposed to be a little more stoic and disconnected from humanity. It's kind of a part of his character, which is why he's so good at killing and all that stuff. But the problem with that is that A, that's an assumption, and B, he wasn't always like that. If you look at John Wick's dialogue in the first movie compared to this movie, it's 210% different. Because in the first movie, he's playing a regular guy. Here, he's trying to be a caricature, Keanu Reeves, and the direction and all that stuff. And I feel like it does a disservice to the character. I know he's a man of action, but since he is our main character and does have to have dialogue, like he can't not talk the entire time, or at least you haven't set that character up to be that type of guy, you have got to have him deliver these lines convincingly. And it doesn't sound like they're convincing because they're read in a certain way that just feels strange and awkward and not good. So I don't care if he's supposed to be stoic or whatever. He needs better line delivery. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. And it's not Keanu Reeves doing it. I'm sure that is a director's choice because he didn't always sound like this. John Wick did not sound like this in the first movie or the second movie. So this is directorial choice. This is not an actor's choice, I don't feel like. That being said, though, outside of Keanu Reeves, everybody's amazing. I honestly love the cast of this one better than any of the other John Wick movies, man. Donnie Yen is fantastic as the blind assassin. I think he's great as Kane. I hope to see him in more John Wick-esque projects. I know they're talking about doing a lot of spin-off shows and maybe some spin-off movies too. I would love to see Donnie Yen's character in more movies or shows. The way they leave it off here, they leave it off for us to really not have him do more, but who knows? It's a movie franchise. Anything's possible. You know what I mean? You got Shamik, or no, not Shamik. I'm sorry. I was going to say Shamik Moore. No, Shamir Anderson, who plays the tracker in this. He's an awesome new character. And another one where I'm like, I want to see this character again. I don't care. I don't care if it's going to be in a show or a movie, whatever. He was awesome as his character in this. And again, both Donnie Yen and Shamir Anderson are amazing in their action sequences. They are just as elaborate and cool, but what I like about them more than anything else is that they're not John Wick. You know what I mean? So they get their own unique moves, their own unique gadgetry, their own unique stuff. I say gadgetry, but really I mean weapons, but you know what I mean? They get their own things that make their action sequences look unique to them, which is the most important thing I think about this world that I like more than 3, is that here you get to see different assassins who do things differently than John Wick does. And so in that, or master assassins rather, that do things differently than John Wick does. So with that, you get to see them really stretch how the action sequences look and how they should feel. When it's Shamir Anderson's character as the tracker, these are a little more brutal, a lot more scrappy, compared to the very wrestle-based moves or the gunplay that John Wick does. And then with Donnie Yen being the blind assassin, his moves don't look as choreographed or as unique as they should because he's blind. Of course he's not going to be as pinpoint accurate as he could be with a gun because he can't see, but that adds character to the character. And I think that's a strong and important detail that they really paid attention to when they choreographed their moves, and also when these two characters applied that to their performances. Shamir Anderson has a lot of charisma to him, a lot of character. He feels like he's got a lot of swag to him, you know what I mean? But he's also in control, and he's very strong with his presence when he walks into the room. Donnie Yen's just out here just chilling. He feels very much like his character from Star Wars, but that's a good thing. I like when Donnie Yen is kind of the cool guy who's like, look, I'm here to do a job. That's all it is. It ain't nothing personal. It's just business, baby. Anyway, I'm here to kill you. That's, Donnie Yen keeps it very cool. He keeps it classy. And I think those two really are great supporting characters for John Wick, and especially with where their stories are in John Wick as well, their motivations and what they want in this story, it lines up really well with John Wick's motivations and story too, which makes a nice like I was gonna say duality, but what's a triple? What's a triality? That's not a word, but it doesn't matter. The point is, it adds to a great connection of all three of those characters together. And when they're in the room together, all three of them together, they're just phenomenal. So I love those two characters. A lot of the supporting characters, though, here are amazing as well. Ian McShane, always great. Doesn't matter what he's doing, he's fantastic as the concierge, but as the head of the Continental. I don't know why I can't remember his name, dang it. Winston. As Winston. He's great as Winston. And love his character. He's fantastic. Also coming back is, of course, Lawrence Fishburne as the Bowery King. He's great too. He's not in the movie a lot compared to John Wick's 3 and 2, but he still is a strong character and he has presence. Lawrence Fishburne does his thing. He gets in, he gets out. I would talk more about his character, but he doesn't do anything special with his performance that he didn't do in 2 and 3. So if you like that character from 2 and 3, he's the exact same character here in 4. And of course, given the circumstances, we can't do this review and not talk about, of course, the amazing and late Lance Reddick. He's great as Charon in this movie. He doesn't get a lot to do, so don't expect to see a whole movie with a lot of Lance Reddick. But when he's there, he's great. As always in anything he's in. And this big old special RIP, rest in power to Lance Reddick. Just fantastic actor, fantastic performer. Watch The Wire. And other movies he's in and shows he's been in. Watch all of his comedy stuff too. Eric Andre show, his Funny or Die sketch, Corporate. He's just great. He's a great man, and he will be missed. Also, some other supporting actors in this that were really strong. Hiroyuki Sanada is great in anything he's in, and you better believe, much like anything he's in, they put a sword in his hand because the man is a master swordsman and a badass. So Hiroyuki Sanada, he's the shit. He's great in this. But the standout one that surprised me, Rina Sawayama as his daughter, Akira. As Akira. Rina Sawayama as Akira is amazing. She is just so good in the acting scenes, but what surprised me more than anything else was her action choreography. She's amazing at the action choreography. They take the time to give her some scenes where she could show off her badassness too, and she's great. She's amazing. So I honestly am loving the crop of singers and musical artists who are proving they can be good actors. We already got Billie Eilish in Swarm. Now we got Rina Sawayama here as Akira in John Wick 4. Man, we're getting some really good musical artists who are also top-notch talents at being, action stars. So I hope to see her character in more John Wick-esque projects too, because she was dope. So, yes. And of course, can't move on without talking about this legend in the stunt world and action world, Scott Adkins. Scott Adkins also is in this movie, and he's also great too. And he's a chameleon, man, because when I found out the character he played, I was like, that's Scott Adkins? And it's like, yes, that's Scott Adkins. He's great. Really quick, just to expand on Scott Adkins a little bit, is just that, first of all, this is Jerome from the Editing Bay. But also, I'm going to put up a picture of Scott Adkins. It's probably up now. You're looking at it. That's what Scott Adkins looked like. So the fact that he not only delivered a really good performance, but the fat suit never stopped him. It never kept him from moving in a way, restrict his movement so he can't do his kicks and punches and everything. He had full motion of range to do whatever he wanted to do with the suit. So that's, also on the makeup department too. But mostly Scott Adkins' performance just came through the fat suit and the makeup and everything like that, and was amazing. So I just wanted to come in real quick and also say that too, because he had a harder job than some of the other actors, because not only did he have to deliver the lines and be convincing and all that stuff, but he also had to do all that through the makeup and everything. So once again, more props to Scott Adkins, because he was incredible. All right, back to the review. Of course, him being a master at stunt work and choreography. Like, he just kills it in the stunt scenes, but also his performance is good too. He just has a lot of character, and his character was so good. I was like, can't wait to see you in more stuff. He's just really good with acting, and like, he was really good in Day Shift on Netflix, so I didn't think about it much, but he was great here too. So more stuff with Scott Adkins, please. Like, big budget stuff, not just some straight to DVD stuff. Like, big budget stuff, man. Scott Adkins deserves his flowers. As far as the plot goes in this movie, the plot's pretty simple, but I mean, I think that's what makes all the John Wick movies really strong, is that the plot here is pretty simple. Like, it's not too elaborate as far as, the details on John Wick trying to fight the high table. Although Bill Skarsgård as the new villain is very interesting, because he's very unique compared to the other villains we've had. The other villains we've had have been very, singularly on John Wick, and that's kind of the focus of the villains, But here, the villain this time around, the Marquis, played by Bill Skarsgård, first of all, done very well. Bill Skarsgård's great as the Marquis. His French accent, top notch. But it's that he represents much bigger than himself, and they constantly make it feel that way with how much access to just resources he has. And that's why I say he's a much different villain in this than the other John Wick movies, in that, like, a lot of the other John Wick movies, it feels like the villain is like kind of pulling at what they can get. The Marquis has no limits to what he can get, and so it makes him a lot more deadly, because you're like, oh man, what's next, And they do a really good job of illustrating that through the plot and through the amount of just people John Wick has to make his way through to get to the end of this movie. And there's a lot of great sequences with those resources, and also with Bill Skarsgård too, that help to flesh that out and help you add, or rather help add more canon to the story and the world of John Wick. So that was great. Also, I think the nice element to the plot that they added too was that John Wick's actions from the previous movies have finally borne fruit of consequences for others. Most of the time in the John Wick movies, it feels like John Wick does things and then nothing really happens. We started to touch on that a little bit in the third one, but here is where we really get to see it really bear fruit. There are people who are sick of John Wick's crap because they're tired of John doing stuff, and now the blowback comes back on us, man. Like, this ain't cool, bro. Like, what the hell? You know what I mean? And it's cool to see that, because it makes the world feel back down to being a bit smaller. I think that was John Wick 3's major problem, is that it felt like the world was too big given the circumstances of, like, there's too many assassins. There's no way there's enough civilians. It feels like everybody's an assassin. You can go anywhere and you'll bump into an assassin just by walking down the street. Like, here they do a great job of focusing it back up and being like, hey, we are a small time story. We're gonna shrink it back down to John Wick and focus on him and people that are connected to him more directly, so that we can kind of get more close into the the consequences of John Wick's actions and how it's affecting others around him, as well as it is affecting him. And I think that was a great idea to help make the story a little more strong and give John Wick a lot more motivation for why he's doing what he's doing, as opposed to just, I just don't want to die. I liked that. I like that element a lot. I think the weaknesses of the plot, though, are really, again, stem back to John Wick, like the person. Because, we complained about Keanu Reeves' dialogue. We also got to complain about the fact that John Wick is just, at this point, not human anymore. Like, there are things that John Wick survives in this movie that I'm like, I'm sorry, there is no freaking way you were still alive. You should at least have broken bones, internal bleeding, cracked ribs, like something. All right, this man takes a lot of damage and it just gets up like it's no problem and keeps moving. And I know the idea of, like, he has so much adrenaline running through his body, Jerome, that's why he survives. And it's like, no, adrenaline is not good enough of an excuse to explain to someone falling out of a window like 8 stories down onto concrete. You can't, no, there's no amount of adrenaline to prevent that from not at least breaking your legs, cracking your ribs, snapping your arm, doing some form of physical damage that you can't just walk off. Like, you know what I mean? And there's multiple sequences and things that happen to John Wick that I'm like, you should be dead. At the very least, so badly wounded, you're going to be dead soon. Like, you know what I mean? And it's a thing where the movies are starting to hit that territory of just smashing people's suspension of disbelief, because he's no longer in the realm that we were in the first movie, where it feels like John Wick can die. Like, yes, he is a phenomenal fighter, phenomenal gunman. If he's having a fair fight with somebody, yeah, John Wick's gonna win. He's just that good. But if there's circumstances that are just too overwhelming for even John Wick to handle, this movie still wants to be like, but he's John Wick, so he can still win. And it's like, no, that adds drama and that adds tension to the story. If we feel like John Wick is unkillable, it removes a lot of the stakes of the movie. And that is, I think, some of the problem with the plot for most of the movie, is that a lot of the stakes and the tension is gone because John Wick feels like he's an unkillable machine. He talks like a robot already, and now you're starting to make us feel like maybe he is a robot, because there's no way he survives all this. I don't know, man. Like, it's a thing where I'm honestly glad if this is the last chapter in John Wick, specifically his story, and we're starting to move on to the other characters, because I think that John Wick, the character, has just become so much larger than life as these movies have gone on, that it's starting to get to the point where John Wick is not becoming a human anymore. And, you know, it makes me think of Fast and Furious, where those movies started out very serious because it was like, hey, these are regular people, you know, they're very good at what they do, they're very skilled at driving, all that stuff. And, you know, when we watched Fast 5, and that's when it was the start of like the crazy action set pieces and everything like that, people were like, yeah, but, you know, they can still take damage, they can still get hurt, they can still like die. You know what I mean? Like Vin Diesel and The Rock, when they fight, it's a brutal fight, and you feel like Vin Diesel could lose his life. You look at this movie and you look at like how John Wick survives all this stuff and still is able to get up and go fight other people. Yeah, sure, he's tired, but anybody could be tired just doing the stuff he does without taking damage, because you're doing a lot of work. Like, it needs to be more than that, because then it'll add so much more drama to the story and make you feel like, oh man, is John Wick gonna be all right? Like, this might be the time he actually get took out by somebody. And there's none of that's there anymore. You know what I mean? And it feels like it kind of pulls you out a little bit. At least me personally, it pulls me out a little bit of just being like, I mean, sure, John Wick's fighting an army of people. I mean, and he's just going to kill them all. That's the attitude I have, as opposed to, God damn, they got a whole army coming for you, John. I don't know. This might be it. This might be your time. Like, you know what I mean? It pulls you out a little bit. So hopefully, if they do more John Wick projects after this, they add a little bit more of that tension back in, you know what I mean? That these people aren't invincible. The ones who are like the master assassins, the tracker, the blind assassin with Donnie Yen, you know, as Kane, John Wick, like, these guys should still feel like their life is still in danger, especially when they're fighting these master assassins that are just like them, that are just as good, you know what I mean? It's like, you think you got skills, John? I got skills. And, you know, and they fight and you're like, oh man, I don't know, John just might be dead this time, because he's fighting someone on his level. So I don't know, we'll see. Only time will tell. But as far as everything else goes, you know, those are some minor complaints, but for the most part, this movie was still really good compared to the John Wick 3 for me especially, but even John Wick 2 also, I really liked the action set pieces. I wish some other characters would have came back too. I would have liked to see Halle Berry again, you know, but I get it, you know, what are you gonna do? You can only have so many characters in one movie. That being said, if I had to give this movie a grade, I'm definitely giving this a solid B+. You know, I think the action set pieces are phenomenal. It's great, And I think the cinematography still on point, still sharp, still clean, you know? And of course, all of the cool supporting characters that really help flesh out this world, really strong performances from all of the actors playing those roles. They do a great job making this feel fleshed out, new, fresh, interesting, really cool. But when you look at John Wick, it's weird that he is the one who's bringing this movie down, and it's his movie. You know what I mean? The writing fails him by making him so god level that this man feels like he's unkillable and feels like the tension in his character is gone. And the dialogue, when they give him the direction to say it all stoic and robotic and stilted, like it takes away from it for me. I'm like, I want John to feel just as cool or interesting as these guys, as the Tracker, as Donnie Yen's Kane. And he doesn't. He feels like they feel like people, and he feels like a robot. And it shouldn't feel that way, because John Wick is not a robot. He has emotions. He has other things that makes him a person. And I wish they would play on those a lot more, as opposed to just being like, yeah, but he does badass action. Okay, he could do badass action and be a character. Like, you know what I mean? And so that's where it is. But overall, John Wick 4, still a good movie. I still recommend it. Watch it. Especially if you enjoy John Wicks 1 through 3, you will enjoy John Wick 4. All right, it's a lot of the same, and it's still clean, good, fun action. So yeah, those are my thoughts on John Wick 4. Comment below. Tell me if you like John Wick 4. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? Let us know what you're feeling. And if you want to get more First Ones to Die content, including more mini reviews, more book reviews, vlogs, other stuff, subscribe to the YouTube channel, baby. Go ahead and get you some of this podcast goodness. Listen in to all the other podcasts, like full reviews of other movies and stuff that we've done. And like, favorite, subscribe, share, all those things. But we'll see you for the next one. Take care and have a good day.